Well, hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Johnny, and you're watching Hillbilly Modeling. So this is going to be part 7 of our diesel tugboat by Lindberg that we've been working on the past few weeks. And we've gotten everything pretty much prepped and ready to go. We'll mention that I didn't have to put a second coat of our water glue mixture on this. It's stiffened up for us, and it's ready to take paint. So we're in good shape there. So now we need to go ahead and prep everything else and get it all ready so we can spray it. Now everything is much easier to paint if you have some way to hold it that won't interfere with your actual paint job. So I'm going to start off here with our propeller. Now we're going to drill a small hole here in the very back of the hub of our propeller, and that'll allow us to insert a toothpick, and that'll hold it nice and secure. Now, alligator clips, they work really well for parts that have something that you can actually grab onto there that won't interfere with the paint. So we'll do that with our rudder and the rudder strut. Also, I'm going to use a little bit of this mounting tape. Now, this is a double-sided foam type tape. However, it sticks really, really strong. So you don't want to use this with any fragile parts, but I think it's going to work perfect for our winch assembly here. Because we have a large area that doesn't need to be painted on the very bottom of it. So we just stick it right there. We don't have to worry about it flying off while we're painting. So we do have our bits here that goes along the bulwarks. I did kind of set these up to fit in the holes that they're in. So I've decided to number them. Odd numbers on the port side and even numbers on the starboard side. So that'll be like, 1, 3, 5, and 7 is port, front to rear, and then we'll just go even front to rear for the opposite side. So with that done, I do need to have a way to hold these so we can paint them. So I'm do my best not to drill away my numbering. Because right there where I numbered it, I kind of need to put a hole there so we can put our toothpick in place there to help us with the painting. And we also have the fenders that are hung over the side of the bulwarks. So probably the best thing to do for these is to just put them on some masking tape, rolled sticky side out there on a piece of cardboard. And of course, after we prime those, we'll have to flip them, and then we already have a stick stuck to the inside of our bow fender. So now we can prime. So I'm going to start off with our light primer here. This is just Vallejo Gray. It's a water-based primer, and the reason why I'm going to use this is because we do have some items that we're going to paint white, and also on our hull here, it would be nice if we could see our scribe line that we're going to put on it to differentiate between the green that's going to go on the bottom of the hull and then the gray. And then, of course, we have a black water line mark that's going to go all the way around the hull. So the gray primer is going to make it much easier for us to be able to pick that out. Now, our keel actually sits level to its mounting base. So I'm just checking my work area here, so it's level in this direction, and that's okay because we can use that to keep the keel level to our work surface, and then we can use wooden blocks, as you can see here, to adjust the bubble on our level. And of course, now I'm going to have to reaffix all these blocks, hopefully back into the same place, and we'll just do that with masking tape. So that they're not moving and sliding around. That gives us the opportunity to actually move the tugboat around while we're trying to scribe our line. And as you can see here, we have all of our little wooden spacers there taped into place. Now we do want to go back and recheck and make sure that we're still level. And yeah, we're good enough with the bubble. So we're going to use our scribing tool here. Now this is a very inexpensive scribing tool. You can get it on Amazon. They have much more expensive ones. I didn't pay very much for this one. So I am going to have to extend the pencil out so we can get into all the little areas that we need to. And one of the things that we need to check is to see where our propeller is because we don't want our propeller above the water line. And the next thing I need to do is check and readjust for that rail that we cemented down the side of the tugboat, which we did move that up quite a bit from what was indicated in our instructions, but we also don't want the water line up over top of that, because that's going to create too many problems in masking. So once I've got that set, we're going to go back and see that whether or not we have enough clearance here for our propeller, and it looks like we're going to be fine there. So I did go ahead and just dry fit our rudder into place, because it has a water line as well. And then we can just simply follow around carefully. Try not to let your pencil ride up over the slope there of the hull. So we'll just pick us a good line here and hold everything nice and secure so we can get that line scribed all the way around our tugboat. And since we have those little blocks affixed to it, that'll allow us to actually move the tugboat around on our cutting mat and scribe the other side. So with our line where we want it, we can go ahead and mask it off. Now I'm just going to mask off the bottom area here, because it's going to be painted a lighter color on the bottom, so I don't want that black to come through there. So we're going to be using the Vallejo black. This is a water-based acrylic. This is a primer, but black is black. It'll be fine. So I lay out first the water line. As you can see, it's not that great of a straight edge, but that's okay. You know, we got our masking tape keeping us straight there. And I am going up underneath all the details here. This built-in fender down the side. I know it looks like I'm kind of like a blind man hosing this on with a water hose, but it's okay, because being inconsistent is really going to help us in the end anyway, because it doesn't set up any certain pattern there. Kind of like pre-shading. Well, it is pre-shading. And we're going to extend that on down underneath where the bulwarks is going to go. So we'll just go ahead and get that all pre-shaded in. Next up, we're going to do a little bit of pre-shading here on the deck. Now, right up next where our superstructure is going to be, nobody's going to be walking there, so we're going to kind of want that a little bit dark. As you can see here, that's kind of what we got going on. So it's dark underneath the side fender there on the hull, and then areas where the crew's not going to be walking too close to certain items there. And then for the bulwarks themselves, up underneath the top rail, and then on the inside, that's going to help create some shadows for us there. Now with our bulwarks installed there, well, not really installed, but just in place, you can kind of see how all of our pre-shading's going to work out for us. Now I've given this black Vallejo plenty of time to dry, and we're just going back in right above, right up against actually, the masking that we had done previously to lay in our water line. So I'm using 1mm Tamiya masking tape here to kind of lay that down, and it kind of makes it easy. I mean, it's hard for you guys to see. Well, that's actually hard for me to see too. But we can just get right up against it there, and it should help us keep a fairly straight line there along the hull. And also, though, I decided that 1mm is not enough, so I laid in one more strip just above it there. Now, there might be a little bit of bleed through during the painting process, but we can touch that up later. So now we need a color for our hull and the bulwarks. I'm picking out this rainy day gray here. It's a craft acrylic paint, water-based, of course, in which I have mixed up for my airbrush, but it's a little bit too light for my take. So I'm going to darken it up with just a little bit of black here. Now, anytime you mix your own paint, make sure that you make plenty to kind of get through your entire painting process. And as you can see here, I have darkened it up some from the original rainy day. So let's take that, and just like when painting armor here, we're going to lay it down in light coats. And the whole idea, of course, is to not totally obliterate all of our pre-shading that we've got in there. So we're just going to keep layering it on until we get it to the opacity that we like, so that it's fairly even. However, it will still show some of that different modeling or pre-shading come through a little bit. That way it's just not all just one solid shade of gray there. Now we need to mix up some gray paint here for our deck. So I used the same rainy day gray that we used on the hull, which we had darkened up, and just darkened that up a little bit more by adding some black. So that way the deck color will contrast nicely there. Now once that has dried, we're going to seal all of our grays in with this Vallejo gloss, which is actually going to give us more of a satin look. As you can see here, you can see it's kind of satiny there. And now we can remove the very first masking that we put on before we painted our water line. And as you can see, I think I pulled off a little bit of that gray there, but that's going to be all right as long as we don't pull off anything up underneath the mask there for the water line. That's going to be important there. Now next, we need to do some painting there below the water line. Now we're leaving the masking tape on for the water line, of course. That'll keep it nice and protected. And then we can just overlap some protective masking here, which is going to allow us to have a little bit of room to actually shield all of that gray that we've got on the upper hull there. Now it's important that we protect that gray from all the other spraying that we're going to be doing here on the below the water line. So I'm just going to use paper towel here or napkins, whatever you've got. That's fine. We're just going to attach it to the masking that we applied previously there, and that'll protect everything from overspray. So next, we're going to, since I have mixed up quite a bit of that paint, the gray for the bulwarks and the upper hull, we're going to use that to kind of make a mottled pattern here on the lower hull to give it a little bit more contrast there when we go to lay in the next color. And we are going to paint this pretty much the same as what the box colors are kind of calling out. Now we do want to pay attention to that line there where we had that overspray there. Kind of cover that up a little bit there so it doesn't show through. So I have chosen basil green, which looks very close to the underwater line color, and I think it's going to look pretty good. So we're going to use that. And this is a water-based acrylic, and it goes on very nicely. Of course, you have to thin this out for your airbrush because these craft paints that I'm using, you can't, it will not spray unless you actually mix it and thin it quite a bit. So we're just going to lay it on just like before in very light passes until we get to the point where you can just barely see those different shades kind of coming through there. It really helps with this hull because the hull is quite smooth here. So we have a lot of different gradients of this green coming through. And I think it looks pretty good there. Now once our basil green has dried, we can remove all this masking here. Being very careful with it. We don't want to accidentally pull paint off, so we need to be very gentle with it. And I didn't mention it before, but we also painted our rudder at the exact same time. If you remember back when we were taking care of the scribing of our water line, we scribed that as well. So that's one of those things that you need to paint at the same time, along with the strut or bracket that holds our rudder. You want to make sure that you do that too. And here we're kind of doing that unveiling thing, checking out our water line. There is a little bit of seepage here and there, but that's okay. We can just take care of that with the black that we still have left over from our spraying, and we'll just use a brush and clean up anything where we had some a little bit of leakage there underneath the tape. So now we need to go ahead, I think, and install our rudder. So I'm just going to press the rudder into place there, and using just to me extra thin here, it's going to kind of soften the paint, and I'm pretty sure once it dries, this bracket or strut for our rudder here will dry nice and solid for us. I'm just going to straighten the rudder up there a little bit. So with that done, we're going to go ahead and give this basil green a little bit of a gloss acrylic varnish coat here with the Vallejo, which is going to give it the same satin look that the rest of the hull has. Now I think is the time to actually attach our bulwarks to the hull, and as you can see a little bit of light coming through on the one side there, so we're going to have to pull this down nice and tight, and that way we don't have those big gaps there. Now I don't really like the idea of using rubber bands at this point, but I think that's probably the best way to go about it. I'm really kind of afraid that I'm going to scratch some of the paint off. So I've turned the vessel upside down here, and I'm using, to me, extra thin. I know that's kind of questionable, but I don't think I would be able to actually seat and get everything down in place with any other glue, especially something like CA glue. So I believe we're going to have enough holding strength here to hold that into place. So this is our bow fender. Now I did spray it with the Vallejo black to kind of take care of all that white that we had going on there. But we need to do something else to it, and I'm hoping that the black will provide us plenty of shadow. And so this is a khaki. Now this is also a craft paint, which I've mixed up for the airbrush. So let's go over to the paint booth here and see what we can get to come out. So we're going to start lightly spraying it, and we're doing it from above. This is kind of like the shadowing effect that you do on figures, going over the dark color with whatever color the uniforms would be. In this case, we want these fibers to actually stand out. So I'm trying as best I can to keep our angle from above. Now we're going to have to spray up underneath a little bit, but as you can see, those shadows are really starting to develop there, which was really giving us a nice look there for our bow fender. And you just need to keep going around it here and spraying it and see kind of how it works out. But I think it's going to work out pretty good for us because we're really starting to develop some nice shadows here. And we're lightening up that black, of course, with our khaki. And hopefully this is going to look pretty good for us. And you never know until the paint dries, because once it soaks in a little bit, it's going to become a little bit darker. So we need to let that set for a moment. And once we're out from underneath that really bright light, you can see the little tonal variations that we've got going on here. And I think that looks really nice there. You can see that we have all that nice texture, and I think it's going to look really good on our vessel. Now from the very start, using the gauze and rolling it into those noodles and all, this has all been quite an experiment. But I think we're really capturing kind of the look that we need there. So it's looking pretty good. Now these are the plastic side fenders, that would go port and starboard side, that we drilled out to prepare to actually put them on the vessel. But I'm starting to think that maybe, because we have plenty of noodles left over, because we made plenty, just in case we were to run out, that is probably going to look much better. And if we refer to our reference photos that have this type on it, I think it's going to look good, especially all down the side of the vessel itself there. So I think we're going to do that. And I really like how the color plays against all that gray hull there. So yeah, let's try that. Let's just use the side fenders, which we had drilled those holes through, which I don't think we're going to use now, kind of as a measuring guide there. I am cutting our gauze noodle here a little bit longer than the actual part that was on the kit. I know we did some work on those side fenders there, cutting off the plastic and drilling holes and everything, but I really think the gauze is going to work better for us. So let's cut those off. Next up, we're going to use the PVA glue here. This is just Elmer's school glue to kind of seal up the top end of these because we don't want it unraveling on us, first of all. And then second of all, it's going to kind of stiffen the tops of these up. That way we'll be able to string them onto the vessel without the worry of them kind of coming apart on us. And that's okay because the PVA glue is going to soak into the fibers and it's going to really dry up quite a bit. Now on some of these, we actually kind of need to trim them up some because when we cut them off with our hobby knife, it's kind of a flat square type cut, and we kind of want it a little bit more organic, you know, just a little bit more rounded. So I'm going to use my scissors here and trim off the edges there because we really don't want these to come apart. Later on, we're going to actually string through these to lash them to the bulwarks. So this is kind of an afterthought, which I should have thought of before. But this is wax paper, and we're going to lay that down on our mat there because we don't want that PVA glue gluing our fenders down to our cutting mat because that can happen. And a little bit of wax paper there will give us a little bit of safety there to where we don't tear our fenders apart and they can dry. Now after giving these about 15 minutes to dry, it's still pliable and we can use our fingers here to kind of shape the tops of them just a little bit there. I don't think that it's going to fully stay the way I'm pinching it in, but give it kind of a softer look there. Now, once we've let the tops of them dry a little bit there, we can kind of check them out here and kind of see how the bottom of them look. A little bit ragged is okay. Unfortunately, some of them, well, they're just not ragged enough. So we can kind of pull down the fibers a little bit here. I'm just using a pick on it here. However, there are going to be some cases where we have some items that, some little fibers that we need to maybe trim off. Or give it more of a sculpted end rather than it just being kind of square. Don't want that formed look at the bottom because these things kind of full of water, you know, and kind of weighted a bit. So we're going to kind of mess that up just a little bit there. This is one of those times in modeling where messing something up is going to work in our favor. So with that done, we kind of need to stiffen everything up. So this is the PVA and water solution, which we used on our bow fender. So yeah, we don't throw anything away or dump anything out until we're done. So we can use this to kind of stiffen up those fibers and let them kind of take shape there on the very bottom where we've pulled those threads out a little bit. And we can also use it to dab it along the entire length to help stiffen the whole item up for us. And we're just going to place them back onto the wax paper there and let them dry completely. Now the PVA glue and water solution will help make everything stiff for us, and it'll also help with the painting process. That way all of this cotton fiber is not soaking up every single drop of paint that we're going to be spraying onto it there. Now once they're dry, we need to prepare them for painting. So this is just a regular little straight pin. This one has a nice little I guess, enamel head or whatever on it there, which is going to help us out here. As you can see, we can just insert that pin right up into the body of the fender there, and then we can stick it onto our alligator clip, and now it's ready for painting. So we're going to start off with our black mixture that we used before on our bow fender, and we're going to give it a really good coat here. We want to make sure that we cover up all the whites. We don't want any white showing through here. So this is the primer coat, I guess we'll call it. And we'll get each of these all painted up. So that's all 8 of them. And we're going to let them dry completely. So we need to give them about 30-40 minutes at least before we go on to the next painting step. Now once our black has completely dried for us, we're going to go ahead and apply the khaki just like we did on our bow fender here. Kind of concentrating just at the very top, although as you're viewing it, it would be down towards the bottom of the screen there. Sorry about my framing, but yeah, there we go. Back up into the frame of the video there where you can see it pretty good. And we're keeping that angle, kind of that top angle, as much as we can. That way we can kind of preserve all of that shading from the black. And so we're just going to highlight all those fibers there. And just a reminder, we are painting a cotton type material, so you may have to make 2 or 3 passes on it to kind of get the kind of brilliance that we want out of it. We kind of want it to match up as closely as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as closely as possible as we can to our bow fender, which of course we've already got painted. So here we are. Need to do a little comparison here. Now as you can see, these are the bow, or not the bow fenders, but the side fenders, all painted up, and they look really good. Yeah, I think it's much better than the plastic that was provided in the kit. And if we take and do a little bit of comparison here with our bow fender that we made before, we kind of keep them with the same theme here. So I think it's going to look really good on our tugboat. Okay, so we got our hull painted. Looks pretty good, and our main deck there, and our rudder, which works. So that's nice. Now we're gonna have to do a little bit of weathering and stuff on this, of course. Now while I was painting the water line in the black, there are some parts that we went ahead and sprayed at the same time. I didn't show that, but like we got our winch, got that painted, of course, and then we have our bits. We got those painted up, so they're ready to install. And we also worked on painting the bow fender, which I think really came out pretty good. I'm kind of enthusiastic over that. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to get it to actually mount to the bow, but we'll figure that out. And then of course we have our fenders that goes down the side, kind of match our bow fender there, so we're in pretty good shape there. And of course the anchor, and I went ahead and primed the propeller at the same time, and I did it in the black because when we spray this with the bronze, that'll give it a much darker bronze look, I think. So you got to kind of pay attention to what color you're using as a primer, because that will change the hue, and the brightness or the dullness of whatever the top coat is going to go on it. So we got that done. So we're looking pretty good. In the next video, I think what we're going to catch up on and really concentrate on doing is kind of finishing out the lower hull, because when we go to tie on our fenders, we, if you remember back during the construction phase, we actually put in some cleats there, and I don't know if they're 100% accurate or whatever, probably not, but I thought it would be nice to be able to, wrap us some string around for our fenders there. It's going to be draped over the bulwarks. So in order for us to get in there, Once we get the superstructure in place, that's going to be almost impossible to get in there and do that with any sort of precision or without getting, some sort of adhesive or glue or, CA glue or something all over everything. So we probably should go ahead and concentrate on that. Get that all done. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. We're going to concentrate on doing that stuff. So, special thanks to all my subscribers. Because of you guys, I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. And also, if you're new to the channel, I hope today I earned your subscription. So, feel free to leave a comment, and I guess we will see you next Friday. So, you guys stay safe.